Hey everyone, welcome back to the High Peaks Weekly Report. Welcome to the second episode. Guys, I'm Jonathan Zaharek, your favorite hiker. And I got an incredible amount of feedback from you guys. And I really appreciate to see how much you guys care about this and to see the potentiality of this whole video series. I do know that I said I was gonna release this every Wednesday, but right now it's still kind of in the making. So eventually it will be consistent once I get an actual perfect layout of how I want this to go about. So after this video today, I need you guys to still critique this, send me a DM, comment below. How can I improve this? What should I do? What should I not do? And let me know. So with that being said, let's get right into it. Starting straight off with hiking conditions, trail conditions, and weather. Guys, today was probably the most beautiful day of the year so far. It was 52 degrees and blue bird. I was out skiing Whiteface all day today and yesterday. I saw a couple of you guys out there. And I actually hiked Whiteface and Esther this past Saturday. So literally I've been on Whiteface this entire week. I hiked this Saturday with Elena and her father up Whiteface, and as you can tell, it was pretty windy. It was pretty nutty conditions, but I'm glad later in the week it finally cleared up. And hopefully later this week, I'm gonna hike Cascade Porter. I want to speed ski Allen. So if you're actually a really quick backcountry skier and you have skins and all this other stuff and you can go in and do some alpine touring, reach out to me because I would really like a partner for that. Phelps, Tabletop, Marcy Skylight Gray in a day. I'm gonna try to get on the Trap Dike and I'm gonna be guiding up in the McIntyre Range this weekend. Like I said, today was super warm. It was 52 degrees. I mean, look at those bluebird conditions, guys. There were so many of you out hiking, and tomorrow, probably the day that this video has come out, is also gonna be in the 50s, and it's gonna be somewhat rainy and cloudy. So the snow is gonna kind of deteriorate a little bit. Blasting into Sunday and Monday, the temperatures are gonna drop right back down, base right around in the teens. Summit conditions are gonna be highs in the teens, lows right around 0 to the single digits. So winter is gonna come right back with a punch, and it will probably precipitate snow a few times this week, but it's gonna be bluebird almost this entire week, minus the sub-zero temperatures. It's gonna be an incredible week to get out there, guys. As far as I know, every single trail was hiked this week. I monitored the reports of every single person that I could possibly find, and everything was hiked. And with the lack of precipitation coming, and with this week's past weather, I could probably tell you that the trails are gonna be great if you're hiking this week. There's not gonna be much blow in from the wind drifts because a lot of the warm weather has consolidated the snow, and so that snow won't really get moved from the wind at all. So any type of trail that's been packed out is probably gonna stay that way because it is now frozen. Unless there's a little bit of precipitation here on Tuesday, Wednesday. But other than that, you guys should have clear roads. I know weather can change overnight, guys, but based off of the weather coming up this week, I'd feel pretty confident to send you guys out there knowing that the trails are gonna be in incredible shape. Again, if you wanna check your weather, I put a link in the description about which weather site that I use. I use the NOAA Mountain Point Forecast System, so you can check that below. Oh, and by the way, because of this warm weather, a lot of the river crossings going over Indian Pass Brook, the Opalescent to Allen, or any other major river that you might have to cross, be very mindful and check conditions to make sure that those river crossings are okay, because there's a good chance they could break away and you're gonna have to go over the water, and it's not really a good thing to do. So make sure you're always hiking with a partner as well. And also, guys, again, remember, just because the snow is hard packed, you still have to wear snowshoes from car to car. If you're doing a high peak and you're in a wilderness zone, you have to. I'll put a link below to sign up for the DEC newsletters. Make sure you always have the DEC phone number and a way to connect to the SOS service if, God forbid, you need it. And always, guys out there, make sure you leave no trace. There's a link below as well for the 7 principles of leave no trace. Always leave the trails looking better than when you found them. Onto the local segment. Little bit of a small business plug. I'm actually currently recording this in the High Peak Cyclery Guide House. I am a guide for High Peaks mountain guides. So if you guys ever need a guide, you can either contact me directly and we'll hook you up through that, or you can just contact High Peaks Mountain Guides and we'll set you up. But as far as High Peaks Cyclery guys, I'm not trying to bash the Mountaineer or EMS guys, but if you want some good deals and some great outdoor equipment and gear, come here to High Peaks Cyclery. You'd be shocked by seeing the amount of stuff that we have fit your needs. We also have a lot of deals going on. All of our skis are 25 to 50% off backcountry, downhill, alpine touring, cross country. We're selling off of our rentals now. We also have an awesome rack of base layers, your choice, 20 bucks. And right here is a 50% off rack, and there's some incredible down coats, Arc'teryx, Ortavox, awesome brands, guys, and you're not gonna find those deals anywhere else. So come on in, tell Jonathan sent you, and we'll hook you up. On to the news section. This past week, the DEC finally released a long-awaited report from the High Peak Strategic Planning Advisory Group. This group was created to suggest long-term strategies for addressing public safety and protecting the environment on popular trails. We all know that is an issue. Their work was completed when they turned over their final report, which was this past Friday. So hear me out. The HPAG was created in November of 2019 to address these issues, specifically in the High Peaks Wilderness and in the face of the increasing use. This report that was just sent out represents the HPAG's consensus recommendations to ensure that this world-class wild treasure has world-class protection and management that it deserves. I put a link in the description if you want to go read this report yourself, but here's a couple key factors. One of the biggest topics they talked about was the permit systems. This is what it reads. A permit system, a controversial topic among advocacy groups, hikers, and state officials, was part of the report as something to be investigated as an option to limit use. In some ways, the report suggests that will happen already through stricter parking enforcement and visitor shuttle use based on the allowable capacity for the trails. The report also details a possible parking pass scenario where current trailhead parking could be limited to a pass holder. Scenic overlook parking would be available for short-term spots. And some other recommendations by this group, if you want to go read the rest of the report, go ahead. But they also recommend possibly creating a new outdoor recreation unit with the DEC, collecting real-time data to visitors and parking areas, studying the parking, providing more resources and funding, and to implement actions already highlighted in the state unit management plans, as well as a monitoring program for new facilities, more forest rangers, better parking at popular trails, and establishing photo monitoring points of the new Cascade Trail. So go ahead and check that out. I would love to hear what you guys think about the overusage here and how we could go about and deal with it. Let me know your opinion below. Next segment is Q&A. I asked you guys to submit some questions. I put a link in the description as well for you guys to submit. I would love to answer all the questions you guys have about anything, seriously. Ask me anything. It doesn't even have to be about the High Peaks. It could be about me. It could be about someone else. Just some random question. Ask away. The first question comes from Hannah. She asked, what do you think of the East Dix route via 73? Guys, this is the least traversed route here in the Dix Range. But first of all, I would only recommend doing it in the summer if you are a beginner to intermediate hiker, because it's actually pretty hard to follow this route from Grace to the Boquet Forks lean-to, the upper half of it, because it's crossing the river multiple times and you can easily lose trail. So I wouldn't recommend doing it in the winter because it's actually not really traveled at all. And secondly, in the fall time when the leaves are all over the ground, kind of hard to actually follow it and navigate it. But if you are gonna do it, I would also recommend going out that way. I love doing the Dix Range via Round Pond and out 73. I'll go up via Round Pond to Dix first. I'll hit Huff, the Macomb, South Dix, East Dix, and then out 73 all the way back to the car. But then you have to walk like a 1 mile section on the road to your car, wherever you decide to park. But as far as that route goes, it's a great route and I would actually recommend it in the summertime because it's also less traveled. Next question comes from Paul. He asks, during the summer, would you recommend going up or down the Saddleback Cliffs on a Habasah loop, and which is safer? So I actually think it depends on the season. I've done the Saddleback Cliffs in summer, winter, up and down, day, night, and I personally have never had an issue with them, but I'm pretty experienced. As far as a less experienced person, I would say they're not actually as scary as you think, but always go with a partner and try not to go down them if it's raining. It's always safer to go up them, in my opinion. So do Haystack first, then Basin, and then Saddleback, and then once you're done with Saddleback, you'll be closer to your car and you don't have to walk 9 miles out from Haystack. But here's a picture of the cliffs in the summer, and here's a picture of the cliffs in the winter. As you can tell, they're actually pretty exposed. The sunlight and the wind hits them just the right angle where snow and ice buildup is actually not too great. And so in the wintertime, they're not as treacherous as one would think. And in the summertime, they're always dry, obviously, unless it's raining. Next question comes from Nick. Tips for hiking the first 2 weeks of April, AKA the beginning of mud season. Still winter up top, but warm below. What extras would you recommend to bring? Tips and tricks. A lot of you do know this, but for those of you who might not know this, during mud season, which is generally the second half of April into the second half of May, the DEC asks us to not hike above 2,500 feet. Obviously, there's a few peaks that are like below 3,000 feet, like 2,800 feet is a pretty common elevation out here. So I would say like, if it's still under 3,000 feet, you're okay. But the reason why we don't hike in mud season is because of the rotten snow. And if people are hiking in there, you can also get injured, but it also can deteriorate the trail and it can also hurt the vegetation and your safety and other people's safety. And it's just not that fun of a time to hike. Also guys, if you are hiking here in the high peaks, in that month of April and May. Don't forget the temperatures can still reach freezing easily, and the highs can still be in the 50s and 60s. And if it rains, guys, I would not recommend hiking in mud season during the rain because it's gonna drop cold significantly and you're gonna be in all this mud and snow and everything, and it's just not fun. So if you're gonna hike in mud season, try to do it on a dry day. Always bring a hard shell and definitely use Gore-Tex. And the last question comes from Johnny. He says, can you recommend a waterproof map set of the trail systems of the Adirondacks? The DEC topo maps I have come from the 90s and are huge. A lot of you have the map I'm about to recommend. I don't recommend the National Geographic one because there's actually a lot of trails that are not on there, but I would recommend the one the Adirondack Mountain Club puts out. They just released a 15th edition. It is a high peaks map created by people here in the Adirondacks and for people here in the Adirondacks. It has a lot of very valuable information, especially the newest map. They're $9.95, $7.95 if you are a club member. I'll put a link in the description there to get one of those, but I would recommend the High Peaks Trails map by the Adirondack Mountain Club. A lot of you asked about my ski setup. I'm gonna release that information in a future video, not now, but I've just been getting into skiing this past winter and I've been doing it like almost every single day. I love it. Backcountry alpine touring is what I'm hoping to get my feet pretty experienced in this winter, next winter, following winter, for years to come. And I'll tell you guys more about that in the future. And last but not least, the photos of the week. I asked you guys to submit on Instagram using the hashtag HighPeaksReport. Guys, please flood this hashtag. I got like 15 posts this past week, which is actually a lot, but I'd love to see all of your pictures. It doesn't matter, so make sure you put that in your standard set of hashtags. The first photo comes from Pennsylvania hiker. Here's a gorgeous photo of them on a bluebird day, descending Phelps. Look at that. Next picture comes from Nick Field 46. Beautiful image at sunset coming down from the summit of Giant. Also another beautiful bluebird day. They might have actually been the same day. And the third one comes from Jake Fatali Photography. Wow, that is a zoomed in shot there of the summit of Marcy. That is gorgeous. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week here on the High Peaks Report. It was definitely a little longer than the first one, but I hope you guys learned something and I hope you guys were entertained. Again, I want to inform, educate, and entertain you guys, and I look forward to hearing and seeing you guys. I'm Jonathan Zaharek. Follow me on Instagram to see what I'm doing all the time here in the High Peaks. You guys rock, keep on hiking, and I'll see you next week.